Hi guys, today's question is when should I buy my first home? It's a really common one we get, and for any first home buyers out there, when you should buy your first home is a really good one to have a think about. Recently I was having a chat with one of the ladies who at our work. Now she's been saving away for a long time. She's in a really good position to look at buying her first home. She's got a good deposit. And she's just been discussing, I guess, the pros and cons, or just having a think about like when is the best time for her to buy her first property now that she's getting, close to being able to. So I just want to touch on that today and hopefully add a bit of value to anybody who's considering buying their first property. It's really common. For a long time there, we didn't have as many first home buyers looking compared to maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but at the moment we're seeing first home buyers definitely coming back into the market. And like we've spoken about in previous videos, there's going to be some incentives or new or different incentives coming up probably in the new year. It looks likely for 2020 that will have some new incentives there for first home buyers. So now is as good a time as any to buy. And I just wanted to run through, I guess, my advice around like when is the best time to buy a first home. So starting out, I mean, it'll seem blatantly obvious, but it's when you're ready. When you're ready is purely when, one, you've got yourself a decent deposit. That would be my number one focus. If you're looking and considering buying your first property, really knuckle down and try and put away as large a deposit as you possibly can. It's just going to give you more options. It'll give you more choice when it comes time to purchase. If you can put aside a good deposit, even if you don't end up using all of your deposit to be able to buy the home that you're after, it's still going to put you in good stead to have a good deposit and buffer moving forward into buying your first property. The second one is obviously, off the back of having a good deposit, it's one thing to have a good deposit, but also make sure, I guess, that you're not necessarily planning any periods of time where you don't have a good income there. Whether that's just make sure you got secure employment or a secure income, something that's stable. You can rely on it just to get yourself started and in the door. The bank or a lending institution, they're going to want to see what your income history has been, your employment history. They're also going to want to have a decent look at what your spending habits are. So even if you earn X amount and you've got a good deposit, if your spending's off the chart and everything that's coming in, with the exception of the deposit you've already put aside, if your spending is really high, then you're going to want to tighten that up long ahead of your application period, just so that you are presenting as best you can as an applicant to get a loan for your first home. The next ones for me, after the, I guess, getting ready part of it, is some really good advice is to live within your means. That's just general life advice, but it's very applicable to your first home. What I mean by that is that if you're a single person and you're just looking for your first property, you want to get into the market, you probably don't need a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 6-car accommodation property, which again would be common sense. But I see a lot of people who try and stretch for something that's not necessarily what they need. It might be more aspirational as time goes on, and that's fine. Look, if that's within your capability, go your hardest. But I always think that the whole concept of living within your means is a really good one, and especially applicable to first home buyers. If you can buy a property that you can comfortably service, and when I say service, I'm talking about repaying the loan and actually paying down debt, paying your interest repayments, looking after the property. If you're buying something that's very much comfortable, it means that if something else happens in your life, you're not stretched. And the more important thing for me, which my focus would be, or my best advice for young purchasers, is buy something that's within your means, so comfortable, but also then try and pay that debt down as fast as you possibly can. You'll be looking at probably, say, a 30-year term on your loan. 30 years is a long time to be paying down a property. If you diligently buy something within your needs that you can afford, make some extra payments and try and chip away at that loan quicker. There's no reason why you can't pay a home loan off in 15 years or much quicker than that, depending on your situation. So it's another thing for me is to, look, you're taking on, I mean, for most people, a home purchase is your largest financial decision. It's going to be, and it's probably going to be your largest debt that you'll ever have is from property. So it makes sense to try and pay that back as fast as you can. Now, obviously, debt in an investment sense can be treated a little bit differently, but if we're talking about your first property, you're going to be living in it, paying down that debt as fast as you can is a fantastic way to get ahead. Get ahead of your repayments, but just get ahead in life. Put yourself in a better financial position moving forward. Another little tip in there is, if you are on your own, and unless you've bought yourself a studio or a one-bedroom apartment, chances are you'll have at least one spare room. If you bought a two-bedroom unit, you got a spare room. If you want to chip away at that loan faster, get a roommate. $100 a week, having a roommate, rent out your spare room. $100 a week adds up quickly. If you put that straight into your loan, you're looking at over $400 a month, and chances are it could be more than that. I mean, depending on where you live, you could be renting out your spare room or rooms if you've got more than one. You'd be renting them out, I would imagine, anywhere between $100 and $150 a week, depending on what you include. If you include electricity and you cover that as the owner. Obviously, you've got to pick and choose roommates that you're happy with, but I just think that's another really good way to get ahead, pay debt down. The sooner you can pay it down, now this is also probably one of my favourite things, is your first home's a great one. Chances are it's not going to be massively expensive. So the debt is probably going to be one of the smallest house debts that you have throughout your purchase history, unless that's your only property that you purchase in your life, which is another possibility. But if it's not, it's a smaller debt. So that means your interest payments on that is going to be probably the lowest that you'll see. So if you can chip away at that quickly, pay that down quickly, you can build yourself a nice nest egg, a nice, bit of capital that you own within that property. So you don't have to pay the whole thing off necessarily, but if you do decide that come 5 years down the track, 2 years down the track, 10 years down the track, you want to upgrade, you might not have finished paying off the debt, the entire debt, that's fine. But you might have got to 50% paid off. Now, if you bought a more expensive property and the interest repayments on that was significantly dearer, it would be a lot harder for you to get to that amount of capital. So I think that's another really good opportunity, is on a cheaper property. And, it comes back to living within your means, but buying something that you can afford and you can chip into that debt quickly means that you can build a nest egg that you can just use on the next property to buy your way in. That'll form part of your deposit, and you won't have to borrow as much, even if you're upgrading. So that can be another really good strategy around trying to make that happen. Is obviously share room, extra payments. There's lots of different options there, but just a really good thing to consider. The final thing I'd say, and I had a good chat to a first home buyer yesterday at my open homes. He was talking about, he made a really good point, and I think that it's a great takeaway for anybody who's looking. This particular guy is not a renovator. So for him, he wants to buy something, even if it is a little bit older, he wants to buy it in good condition. To me, because he knows full well he's not going to be renovating, he's not a trade, it's not within his skill set. So I would say choose something that's suitable. If you do have a trade, or you have some sort of practical skills there, or you have family members, say, or friends that you can lean on, and you've already discussed this ahead of time and that's part of your plan, then that's fine. Maybe buy a property that does need renovation, you can add value to it. But just bear in mind, that's not the only way to get ahead in property. And I think that the paying down debt side of it, as quick as you can on something that you live in, is a really, really good strategy, which doesn't require any renovating at all. You might still, even if you're buying something that's older, yes, maybe it might need some maintenance or some fresh carpet or some light fitting changes. But you don't have to buy a full-blown renovation like you see on the block to make money or make good decisions in property. So just bear that in mind. As a first home buyer, you don't have to be some renovation guru or specialist to do well. And I think if you live within your means, you buy a property that's suitable for you. If you've got spare rooms, capitalise on that. Geez, I mean, if you buy a 3-bedroom house and you've got 2 roommates, they're probably going to come close to covering a large percentage of your repayments, principal and interest, and help you chip away at that even faster. So guys, I really hope that helps. Simple strategies, but a really good one for if you're wanting to know when should I buy my first property, it's when you're ready. And look, chances are the property market is, we refer to a property clock. And it gives you different points on the clock as to where the market is. Is it at the top of the market, bottom of the market? Is it on an upswing or a downswing? The value in property, my belief, is long term. So when's the best time to buy? It's when you're ready. And depending on where you are in that clock, I think that over the long term, I think as a general rule in Australia, our property prices appreciate. And I think it'd be really hard to do to go wrong. But if you focus on what you can control, which is chipping down your debt as soon as you can, buying a property that's suitable for you. Don't buy a full-blown renovation if that's completely outside of your skill set or ability or aspirations, because it's just going to cause more headache. But if you buy something that you can pay the debt down quickly, even if outside of your control the property market comes back or doesn't grow the way it should, you've still got yourself an asset there. You're still paying down debt. At the moment, with interest rates as low as they are, you're really making no money in the bank, next to no money in the bank. So bricks and mortar, people always talk about it's a fantastic investment. It is. So I think as a first home buyer, almost irrespective of where we are in the property clock, if you've got a good deposit, secure income, and you know what your limitations are, as in you're buying something that's suitable, I think that's the best time to buy. It's just when you're ready, irrespective of what's happening externally. You can still make really good decisions. There's still good buys, even in the best of markets, and obviously there's great buys in a market that might be a bit flat. So guys, really hope that helps. First home buyers out there, this one's for you. When to buy? It's when you're ready. If you've got any questions, guys, post them in the comments below. Love to hear from you. Love to answer your questions, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Thanks.